Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Parent Good workshop. See folks jumping on, so it's good to see everybody. My name is Emily Mathon, and I am a parent coach, and I am here today to give you this workshop called Confidently Address Challenging Behaviors with Your School-Age Children. And I have two school-age kids. I have a 13-year-old, and I'm going to shift this over a little bit. A 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, so a middle schooler and an elementary schooler. And I got into this work as a parent coach and parent educator when my now 13-year-old was just a toddler. And I was working at a high school at the time, and with my young child, I was just at a loss in terms of the tools. I was an educator, but with young children, I just wasn't sure how to navigate parenting with this very headstrong child, who, by the way, is still very headstrong. But I ended up taking a parenting class back during those early years, and they have been hugely foundational to my journey as a parent. And I got so into the value that I got out of it that I ended up taking the course to become a trained educator of that particular class, and then more recently have become a parent coach, because that gives me the opportunity to work in a more customized fashion with individuals and couples on their parenting journey. So that's kind of what got me into this work, and I love supporting families through whatever challenges are headed your way. And so for today, I wanted to talk about challenging behaviors that you might be seeing with your children who are navigating this reentry to school after this challenging past couple years. And even this year is still a little tenuous. I know, so where I live in the East Coast in Virginia. And my kids have been back in school for a few weeks, but I know that in other parts of the country, kids are just getting back to school, and what a year it has been so far already. So for those of you who have kids just starting out or have been there for a while, you might be seeing some challenging behaviors with your kiddos. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, is not only what you're seeing, but what you can do about it. So let's see here. Where did I want to start? I wanted to start with, first of all, I love engaging with people that are in attendance. So I might be asking questions periodically. Okay. So I know my kids are actually really happy to be back in school too. They're so relieved to be out of our house. And back with their friends. So yes, I hear that. Absolutely. So one thing I wanted to ask, if you want to type in the comments, I love to start with just getting connected to what it is that you love or appreciate about your child or children. Maybe something that they're doing right now that's kind of cool, or just some aspect of their personality that you really appreciate. So if you're up for it, I just love starting things out that way, to just get reconnected with that. Because when we're talking about challenging behaviors, it's kind of, we can be stuck in our frustrations and some negativity. So we're going to address it. And I also want to just, kind of acknowledge some of the things that we're loving about our kids right now. So we got avid readers. That is so exciting. And obviously I see Abeo, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Social, you've got your child who loves being with friends. So yeah, those are awesome qualities. So I just think it's a great place to get started. We've got Avery, who can be polite. That's so great. We've got creative, bright, reading, another reader, and loves to be helpful, helping the less fortunate. Builder, an artist. So lots of creativity I'm seeing in here. Thanks you everybody for sharing. I love starting it off that way. Ooh, we got a singer in the group. Mariah loves to sing. All right. So I love just getting started with that. So thanks for sharing those. All right. So what I'd love to check in with now is, I know at least one person has said, well, my kids are happy to be back in school and things are going really well. So that's great. And so, and you may have decided to come to this workshop because there might be some challenging behaviors that are coming up. So I'd love to hear, again, if you would be willing to type in, what are some of the challenging behaviors that you are seeing? Some of the ones that I listed in the description might be that maybe you're seeing some outbursts or tantrums. Even with older kiddos, like not just the toddler age, can have these outbursts and tantrums that you might be seeing. You might be seeing some sassiness from maybe more like the older kiddos, like 8 and up, might be showing some sassiness. Teens. You might be seeing yelling or refusal, some fighting, crying. All right, I'm seeing that mornings, we're having some hard mornings. We're seeing some acting out, tantrums. Morning routine is hard, yes. Let's see here. I'm going to have to mute. Someone came on. I get an echo and there we go. All right, following directions is tricky. Bullying behavior, sassy to her mother, yes. Refusal, again, brushing teeth. Okay, thank you for sharing some of those. Playing sick. Okay, yeah, just avoiding wanting to go. So thank you for sharing those. Thank you for sharing those. Yeah, it's real. I mean, it's real, the challenging behaviors that we might be seeing, and that it is common at this beginning of the school year time frame that it is hard. This is just it's a big transition, and especially after the year we've had. If I know in my family, my kids were virtual for all of last school year and even the school year before that. So I know every district and division and state has had different rules and parameters, and that the school year looked pretty different last year, and it seems like, I mean, this year it's looking pretty different too. But I know that my kids are back in school full time, and I think that's true for a lot of places. So that transition from maybe last year being able to just roll out of bed and get on Zoom school versus now, okay, there's a lot more steps. You have to get dressed, you have to brush your teeth and all that kind of stuff that wasn't as common, or there wasn't quite the same number of things to do before going to school last year. So I'm going to talk about 5 different steps in terms of how to address some of these challenging behaviors. And a lot of these are really based in the course that I teach, but also in a lot of the other resources, parenting resources that I rely on. And so the first piece is kind of what I'm getting at right now, which is taking a step back and acknowledging, okay, this is going to be a hard time for a chunk of time. Now, it's not going to stay hard all year, although with our circumstances, there's going to be multiple transitions possibly throughout the year. But on a quote unquote normal year, the transition back to school can take some children a few weeks to get used to the rhythm, get used to the transition and the routines from the summertime to the school year. They might be in a new school. They might be, they're likely with a new teacher, likely with a new set of friends, likely with new sets of expectations from one school year to the next. And so it is very common for this time period, sometimes up to 6 weeks, that it's just hard. It just takes kids a long time to get with that new routine and the new expectations. And then when you kind of add the layer of that they were really out of the routine for quite a long time last year, in many cases, that's just going to make this transition a little bit harder. So I know that doesn't necessarily solve it. It doesn't give you like an easy to access, like here's the tool, but holding that perspective that it can be hard and it's going to take a little time, and I find that it can be helpful just to acknowledge, okay, we're on week 2 of school or whatever week it is for you. And that the mantra of this too shall pass, that it's not going to stay this way, and that this is a challenging time and we're going to get through it, can really provide a little bit of a sense of peace of mind as the parent, a little bit of encouragement for yourself. So that's the first thing. That's really an important piece, is that even if this were a normal school year, there is just a period of time that it takes for kids to transition back into the school year. I mean, that might even be more so if you have like a kindergartner who is, entering into the school for the first time, or, someone who's jumping into middle school. So that's the first step, is just kind of taking a step back and just acknowledging, okay, this is the reality, acknowledging what's happening. Okay, so that's the first one. The second step, this too shall pass, right? So the second step, and really the way I'm going to be sharing this, it's kind of in order of least intervention or least involvement to more involvement. And I do think that these steps are important. That first, kind of just providing this kind of global encouragement, first off. The second one is to check in with yourself. So likely when your kids are at school, you're doing whatever you're doing. You're at work, you're taking care of other responsibilities. You're not with your school age children. So there's these specific moments in time that you're experiencing. Even those of you who shared about what you're seeing, you're seeing it in the morning routines. Morning routines a nightmare. Some of you have said that going to sleep at night is really tough. You might be seeing outbursts right when they come home from school. So there are these kind of specific times that you're likely seeing these challenging behaviors. It's likely not all the time. It's usually in these really specific, discrete times. So the second piece is to check in with yourself, and especially before you're going to be with your child. So it could be, right before they wake up in the morning. This is when you're going to check in with yourself. Could be maybe you're in the car line, or you're waiting at the bus stop, or you're walking to pick them up. However you get your child at the end of the day, this is your time to check in with yourself. Or it could be before you begin the bedtime routine. This is the time where you check in with yourself, kind of see, all right, am I stressed out about something? Am I carrying something from earlier in the day? Am I just trying to rush? Am I distracted? Am I trying to multitask and do a bunch of different things? So assessing kind of, all right, where am I in this moment in time? Again, around these specific discrete periods of time, check in with yourself. And if you do notice, oh yeah, I've got a million things on my mind, I'm stressed out, whatever it is that's happening for you, it's important to acknowledge that, okay, this is going on. And so that's the first step, is just acknowledging what's going on. And then, we talk a lot about this idea of self-care. And sometimes that can be this something that you can invest in time in various ways. In this moment, I'm looking for what is something that takes less than 5 minutes, where you can bring yourself back to the present moment and bring yourself back to a calm state if you recognize that you've got a million things on your mind. When we are multitasking and we're stressed and we're frustrated, and we bring that into the interaction with our child, likely it's not going to go so well. Likely they're going to feed off of that energy, and even our state of mind. Whatever they do, we might even get more agitated. So before those kind of specific moments, taking a second, and it could be, first of all, might be just putting down our phone. I know that can be something that I need to do. It could be taking a quick sip of water. Could be taking a deep breath. It could be stretching if you're somebody who just is kind of in your body, and taking something like a 2-minute stretch break before you meet up with your child, before they wake up in the morning. It could be, again, like you were sharing some of the things that you love about your child. It could be even reconnecting with some of those qualities that you love and appreciate about your child before they come off the bus, and kind of just getting reconnected with that feeling. And it could be saying something kind to yourself, something very simple, something that you can acknowledge, be grateful for, And all of those little things can take really, less than 5 minutes. And taking that minute to get calm and get present before these kind of challenging moments can really shift the trajectory of how those interactions go. So I'd love to hear again from everybody if you have like a little trick or suggestion of something that takes 5 minutes. I know I mentioned a few. Anything that you have tried or that you like to do that really doesn't take very long that you could share with other people in the group that kind of, again, get you back to the present, get you back to this a calm state. I'd love to hear any suggestions that you all have. I'm going to take a sip of water because that's one that I like to do. I sometimes forget to take a drink. Oh, it's just splash me. No ideas yet. So, oh, that's a good one. Yes, being excited to see them. Yeah, I mean, have full days, and that's like even just getting excited to see them and smiling. That's a great one. Thanks, Doug. So, okay, great. Quick walk outdoors does the trick. Yes. Snuggles and affirmations, reassurance that it's going to be a great day. Awesome. Very cool. So keep them coming as you consider some things that might help you just kind of, again, reconnect with yourself and get back to the present and to a calm state before you even see your child. First thing in the morning, before they get off the bus, and then kind of as you're kind of getting ready to start the bedtime routine. Coffee. I see coffee. Yes, coffee in the morning. Yeah, take those few minutes before you wake them up or before their alarm goes off to just enjoy that cup of coffee in the morning. That's great. All right. Okay, so the third thing on in the steps, so we've kind of taken this global picture, we've taken that minute to connect with ourselves and get access to this calm present self, let go of the other tasks that might be on our mind to get focused on our child. So the third thing is to assess their basic needs. And I mean, we've probably all experienced when we're hungry and we get that hangriness, right? So it could be, that's the thing that they need. It could be hunger, it could be thirst, it could be that they're tired, that they're uncomfortable. So assessing just kind of those some more external factors. I know that a lot of kids, I'm thinking about when they come home from school, they've been wearing the masks all day in a lot of places. And I know like some places water fountains are disabled. So even access to water, or if they have the mask on, being able to take sips of water throughout their day, they don't have quite the same amount of opportunity to just drink in the current context. So having a sip of water, in same thing with lunch. If they were home and they're slow eaters, being in the school environment, their lunch periods, I hear this consistently, their lunch periods are so fast and they may not be able to eat their whole lunch if they're slow eaters, or if they're social. I know some of you said that your kids are social. They may spend half of their lunch period talking and really not get a whole lot of food in during that narrow period of time. So they might be coming home from school and they're just hungry. A lot of kids, they know how to hold it together during the school day. And when they're at the end of the school day, they just kind of release. And so just being kind of prepared for that. So this assessing the basic needs, it could be hunger, it could be thirst, even just recognizing, okay, they just are probably exhausted. And if you can kind of tell that they're exhausted, maybe today isn't the day to go to the park after school or have that play date. Maybe we just need to not do that thing or that extracurricular activity if they're just exhausted. So But some kids, they need to get their energy out. They've been sitting still all day and they're super high energy kids. And so again, recognizing what are those basic needs and meeting that need. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4 is, and someone, I think Cynthia said this one, about snuggles. So the 4th one, after you've done those first 3, the opportunity to connect. And this one can go such a long way. And it doesn't necessarily come in the form of snuggles for some kids, but that connection point. And again, that can seem like the most impossible thing when our kids are, maybe they're yelling or they're upset, they're having an outburst. They're crying, they're, whatever it is that this challenging behaviors that you're seeing, when we can, again, those first 3 things leading up to it, now if we can just connect with them. And that doesn't necessarily, sometimes that even requires no words at all. It's just being there, and it's just being silent and connected with them. It's like the intention of being connected. Now, for some kids, really like that snuggle or that light touch, a hug can go a long way to just feeling, okay, my parents here with me. I'm reconnected. And again, they've been kind of holding it together all day long. And just that connection time can go a really long way to having them feel relaxed and secure. So it may not, you may have a million questions about what their day was like and who did they have lunch with and what do they do and what was their favorite part. And that might be a little bit too much for some kids. And so that, again, like I said, about silence and just a light touch can go a long way to just building that connection. It could be, I think it was Doug that said this earlier about a smile. Just that greeting of connection can go a long way. So I wanted to give, again, another opportunity to share what you've found to be kind of a great way to connect with your child. Again, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's after school, whether it's, another point in the day. What are your ways of connecting? What are the ways that you've observed that your child likes to be connected with? I mean, again, some kids are real physical. They like the physical connection. Some kids, I know Cynthia also mentioned affirmation. So saying something that you notice about them, that, I noticed you playing with your friends after school, or just acknowledging something, a positive quality about them can offer that really nice connection. So any other ways that you've observed that your child receives connection with you, or that can go a long way for that feeling of connection? Love to see some comments. Ooh, hugs. Yeah, that can go a long way. Let's see, doing something together that they like. Yeah, definitely. That kind of play, doing something fun, full attention, eye contact. Absolutely. Reading books at meals. That's great. Yeah. Someone said about, Nancy said about eye contact. So even like getting at that eye level, if your child is, a lot smaller, getting on that eye level, especially when they are having a hard time, just being right there with them as opposed to being over them, can bring that level, just even that level of connection. So that's a great one. And then offering, again, that I talked about assessing the basic needs. So offering that sip of water, offering that snack as a way of like, kind of here's something that's going to support you. It's amazing how much a sip of water can just like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. It'll make me feel better. Really offering that sip of water for kids, it can go a long way. So high energy. So, okay. So playing is a great one. And connecting during meal times. Those are great. Thanks for sharing those. All right. So, helping. I love that. Helping around the house. That's so fun. Conversation. Explaining to my 9-year-old decisions about his education. Why piano classes? Why does he have to go to bed? So I'm not sure if that's a question or if that's like that explanation is a form of connection. But it sounds like, yeah, conversation is a way of connecting with each other. I know it's funny. My child loves arguing. So like for her, arguing is a form of connection. Not exactly for me, but talking and conversation, absolutely exploring ideas with older children. Okay. So, now on to a form of connection. Thank you, Shadia. Watching TV together. Yeah, I mean, again, sometimes at the end of the day, just having that time to, I mean, I like to call it couch time, that time of just sitting on the couch. And sometimes it's watching something, sometimes it's just being there together, that snuggle time, that talking, sharing about the day. So connection is the fourth thing. Okay. So the fifth thing, and this is the final one, but there's lots of different parts within it. So after we've done all of those different steps, now we're into the offering direction piece. So all of those things really lay this strong foundation of connection and attention and love. And now we'll move into more of the direction piece. So now all of these kind of depends on what the situation is, but I'm going to give you a few different suggestions, and if you want to write them down, it kind of depends on the situation. And then after I go over this last one, I'm going to open it up for questions. Either you can type in questions, or we can unmute, and then you can just ask your question too. But so for the fifth one and the last one I'm going to go over, this is kind of where there might be a little bit more intervention. The last four were a little bit more kind of mindset in some ways. So one thing that might be needed is to either teach or to reteach a skill. So they might need to, there might be something that they need to learn, and that we haven't ever really actually taught them, whatever the skill is that we are looking for them to do. So again, this is really specific to whatever it is, but say for instance that you have the expectation in your mind of what the after school routine looks like, and you know what it is in your head, and you don't think it's that hard to follow, but your child doesn't actually know what the thing is that they're expected to do. So whether it's, okay, these are the 3 things you need to do after school: you hang up your backpack, you wash your hands, and you have your snack, might be the 3 things. So what are the skills that you want to be teaching? So again, if it's the morning routine, it could be that they just don't know what the routine is and what they're supposed to be doing. And so it might require that. My oldest used to watch Dora the Explorer, and her adventures were always the same. They always had 3 things, and it was very easy to follow: this, then this, then this. And I know that our routines can sometimes involve more than 3 steps, but if we can boil it down to a small number, then it helps them. And even having them recite it back to us, what are the 3 things? And then, they might not even really know what the expectations are. They're just kind of being bombarded by expectations. But if we teach them the skills, then they'll have more confidence in what they need to do. So that's one suggestion, is to teach or reteach a skill. Another thing is to use an I statement. It could be something that you need. So if after, I'm just going to use an example of like picking up after school, if you've done all those steps and you've done this nice connection, and there's still something going on in the car, like maybe they're being noisy in the car, using an I statement of, I need to be able to focus while I'm driving. Can you lower your voice? So just making it as an I statement, as opposed to, you're being so loud. Talking about it as, this is what I need, can be, it's very, it's us modeling, taking responsibility for what we need and making a request. So that's another suggestion. And again, it kind of depends on, and that's what I'll open it up in a little bit to see what are the specific contexts. But I want to, but why? Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so so I think that's in response to what if I'm driving and I needed to be quiet, yes, there might be a lot of different rebuttals and things like that. And so, that just might require pulling over until your need is met, because, you do need to drive safely. So, I know kids can be masters of negotiation and really advocating for their needs, and that's great. And there's, we have to choose our limits, and driving safely is one of those things we've got to prioritize. So speaking from what it is that I need. Another one is, and I think someone mentioned this before, that giving them a job or giving them a task, giving them a responsibility can have them feel really helpful. And so not all kids will respond to this, but it can be something like, if you're trying to get them up to bed, asking them to carry something up to the bedroom. That knowing, okay, this is what my job is, this is what I'm supposed to be focused on, just kind of focuses their attention. And it's not about whether they're going to go upstairs, but now they're doing a really important job for you. They're carrying something up the stairs, or they're bringing something to the bedroom for you. And so that can kind of take the focus off of, bedtime, and just, okay, here's my job. So that's one that, again, doesn't work for all kids, but it's like, oh, this one little thing, carrying something from here to there can help get them to wherever it is you're trying to go. So that's another one. Another one is, again, these are all in this category of giving them some direction. So this next one is about offering some choices. And so, what all these really, in a lot of ways, are doing is giving our children a certain amount of empowerment within the boundaries of what works for us and what we need. So we want them to feel powerful, and we want them to feel that they have a certain amount of autonomy. And at the same time, we do need to have some parameters, like bedtime's bedtime. And, for instance, if we're talking about bedtime, we can offer two choices. Do you want to brush your teeth first, or do you want to put on your pajamas first? And giving them those couple of choices, again, now you're not negotiating about bedtime, whether it's going to happen or not, but now it's, okay, am I going to brush my teeth first, or am I going to put my pajamas on first? And that's something that they do have power over, and they do have some amount of autonomy. And it's not something about, are you going to go to bed or not? Because that's not a choice. They're both acceptable to you as the parent, but they get to have some input as to which one of those things they're going to do. So, I mean, choices sometimes gets, I don't know, like it's not a yes or no choice most of the time, unless no is a really acceptable answer to you. But a lot of times, no is not an acceptable answer. So asking them, like if you're going to invite them, hey, do you want to bake cookies with me? If the answer is no, that's great. But if the answer is, if it's not okay for you, if they say no, then a yes or no question is not really a choice, because it's not okay with you if you say no. So hopefully that makes sense. But so offering two choices, both of which are acceptable to you. As kids get a little older, you can offer, a little bit more than two, but especially with younger kids, those two choices they're really helpful. They can kind of, again, it's narrowing their view onto what you need them to be doing. And then this last one is making it fun. And so, I mean, I used to animate everything when my children, especially when they were younger, animating things and making it silly and fun, really kind of takes some of that struggle out of it, and just kind of brings, again, you have this foundation of connection that we talked about in step 4, which when there's a power struggle or some challenging stuff, that it can kind of return to that struggle. And so bringing back some fun and some playfulness can kind of take some of that struggle out. So, it could be, if it's not animating things or talking in silly voices and that type of thing, it could be even doing like a countdown. Let's see how quickly you can do this. Let's do a timer and see how fast you can get ready in the morning. Some of those things, for some of the more competitive kids, they're not going to have your kids competing against each other, but let's see how quickly that you can do it. Kind of just adds this layer of fun and excitement that then again, it's not about whether they're going to go to bed or whether they're going to get out the door on time. It's just about, let's see how quickly we can do it. And the point of all of these, as I mentioned before, is that we want to give our kids a sense of autonomy, because it's an important part of being human, is that we have a certain amount of choice and autonomy in our lives. And it's within the parameters that work for us as parents and for our whole family. And it keeps that connection intact between us as the parents and our child. So there's the connections there, and that they still feel like they have their autonomy and their personhood intact as we're moving through the day, or moving into bed or that type of thing. So that's the bulk of what I wanted to share were those 5 different things. So to recap, so more globally, it's just acknowledging, the start of school is tricky. It's hard. It takes a while for kids to transition. And this year in particular it could be a little bit harder for some kids. Second is acknowledging when those key moments are and checking in with yourself before you get started on those key moments by taking a sip of water, getting outside, stretching, something that takes just a couple minutes. Third is assessing their basic needs, maybe offering a sip of water or snack. The fourth one is to connect first. Offer that, whether it's a hug or eye level or a smile. And then the last one is to offer the direction that holds their being and their autonomy intact while still honoring your needs as a parent. So I would love to open up the floor for questions. I think I have to unlock the mute. So if anybody wants to, you can either type in the question and then I can read the question out loud. And then if we have further questions, you can unmute if you want to do it that way, or if you do have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask. So I'll give a few minutes for that. And I'm really excited that you all jumped on the session. And I'm one of a whole group of family supporting professionals. There's a whole range of folks on the ParentGood app that can support you on a more customized level than this workshop. So I definitely encourage everybody to reach out if you want some of that one-on-one support. Okay, I can be found on the app. I see some other folks on here that are also experts on the ParentGood app. All right, so I see a question from Doug Langston. How do we handle sassing and talking back? Okay, so in a lot of ways, sassing and talking back is, again, it's your child's way of kind of declaring who they are, and again, it's this idea of like they want to assert their personhood. So I think it's a couple things. One is getting back to all those 4 things ahead of time, but as we get into that 5th step, there might be a certain amount of reteaching a skill. So that they know how do they communicate in a way, and may not be in the heat of the moment that you're going to be able to do this instruction. It might have to be in a kind of more friendly and peaceful time that you can discuss. All right, I noticed that when you get off the bus, there's a lot of sassing. And so having that conversation, and here's what, if you need something or want something, this is how I want you to talk to me about it. So the other thing is like kind of what's the message behind what they're saying? I think at a lot of times what sassing is about is they're trying to assert who they are. And so there's a message underneath. One is kind of hear me, and then and see me as a person, and get me, and then the other part is that they need to learn the skill of, like, okay, so how do you talk in a way that is respectful to me? So I see somebody's unmuted. So Karthika, I don't know if you intended to unmute.
Yes. Hi, this is Kartika. Okay, my son, he's like 3.5. He's too young, but he's like he has very challenging behaviors. I mean, like he won't eat the food in the school, and he's getting very tired. And after he won't express, he will just scream. And sometimes, if he really get exhausted, he won't express, and he will just bang his head. And I don't know how to stop these behaviors and everything. Do you have any ideas for my kid? Because after coming from the school, he's like really getting tired because he's not eating in the school, and he doesn't want to eat in the school. He only want to eat in the home itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
it sounds like you've really assessed that his basic need is he's hungry when he comes home from school. And so
yes.
kind of anticipating that and recognizing that, okay, he is hungry, and that's the very first thing that we need to do, is make sure that he has something to fill his belly when he gets home from school. Because I imagine that.
Uh-huh.
So tell me, how do you think that would go if when you give him some kind of food after school?
Yeah, he's perfectly fine. He will play, and he will nicely play with his brother, and everything is fine after eating the food and everything. But that's what I'm really scared to send him for the full day. Also, today is his first day. I'm trying my best to send him for till 3 o'clock. Whether I need to make a mind that whether he's eating or not, I need to send him for full day. And he needs to get adjusted to that climate and that thing, and that classroom and environment and everything. So I just want him to eat in the school. That is my only motive, and play well. And he's very really attached and clingy to me, to mom, and he wants everything a mom to do that, even the bath or taking him to the park or everything like that. He doesn't allow any of his other family members to do that. That is also one behavior that I'm seeing on him. I don't know how to reduce that one, but it's really getting me crazy regarding his behaviors like this.
Yeah, so it sounds like so a couple things I heard you saying. One is that, again, he's just he doesn't really want to eat what the school has to offer. And the second part is this kind of like, I think you mentioned, like, kind of clinginess, or that he wants to be with you.
Yes.
Is that like when he comes home from school, he just wants that time with you? He wants.
Yes, yes. He wants only me to do that everything. I'm like he's in an idea that only mom needs to feed me in the home, not in the school. So that's why he's not at all crying in the school. If the teacher opened the box, he immediately starts crying, remembering myself, and he's hungry at the time, remembering me to feed him, and all of that comes in the frustration, and he cries a lot and he screams a lot.
Okay. So, and I think I heard you saying that when he does eat, like if you feed him when he comes home from school, he is able to kind of be back into playing, and kind of engaging in a way that's more regulated. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And the issue is that he's really resistant to eating the school lunch.
yes.
Okay. And is there any other option for food, or is that, like, that's kind of the main, the like, I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, what their menu is, if you can kind of introduce some of the things on the menu, or is there a way that you can include some things from home that feel more familiar to him? I mean, it might just be that he's just, again, it's like he's not used to those foods.
Y Yes, no matter what I give him in the box, in the lunch box and everything, he is in an idea that only mommy will come, and mommy will put the TV or iPad, and mommy will give the iPad, and she will feed him. Me. So he's in an idea that only mommy will, no matter what, mommy will come and feed him. So that's why he's not trying to eat any food in the school. No matter what, I tried very new, different types of foods, but he is not ready to eat anything. But soon after coming from the school, during the car, he will eat. He will ask for the lunch. Mommy, I want lunch, and he will ask, and he will eat in the car, but not in the school.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I don't know how this gonna change, but do you have any really ideas that how his behaviors is gonna change? I mean, is there anything, any idea to change his behavior like that?
Well, I mean, it sounds like that. So I was misunderstanding. So you pack his lunch and he's just not eating it there. And I mean, it might just become more of a habit if this is kind of a new place for him and there's some kind of, it sounds like it's familiar foods because it's food from home, but
Uh-huh.
it's just he's so not used to that routine.
Yes,
And
yes,
that he's ready to eat when he comes home, but your concern is that if I send him for a full day, is he going to eat the food? Um,
yes.
I think that it sounds like you're giving him the nourishment he needs. I think it might just take a little bit more time. I don't know how long he's been at this school, but it might just take a little bit more time if it's kind of a new environment for him, and
Uh-huh.
that having that snack ready, and that if he's there for a full day, maybe
Uh-huh.
you're checking in with the teachers to see if there's a later time where he can get his lunch, like during snack time or something like that, or if there are other things that he is eating. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Thanks for your
Okay.
question. I see
Okay.
another question from Hadar about how can we help our kids be more academically motivated. Um, so I'm gonna do a quick. I'm hearing some background noise. Okay. I think that worked. So how can we help our kids be more academically motivated? So that's a great question. So I guess I'd love to hear a little bit more about what's going on. So they're just kind of like not that interested in the schoolwork. I'm gonna do some I'm gonna unmute you so I can hear a little bit more about what's going on. Um, like what are you seeing? Just kind of resistance to doing the schoolwork. I mean, one thing that I'll say is that sometimes, oh, I'm going to give you a chance to talk. But sometimes as parents, we were more invested in their grades than they are. And then it becomes another like kind of form of this like kind of power struggle where it's like, this is something that's like more important to us. And it's like a reflection on us somehow, as opposed to like, these are our kids' grades, they're a reflection on them. And that it's, and really getting connected to what are they excited about, what are they interested in, kind of more that what does the process of learning look like for them and what intrigues them about that, as opposed to like the grades, because sometimes we can get really hung up on grades and it becomes something that we as parents become attached to and becomes some kind of a reflection on us. And I'm not saying that may not be what's going on for you in your family, but sometimes that like kind of detaching from that specific outcome of like, oh, it needs to look a certain way, because that can create some, a type of dynamic that doesn't necessarily mean they're their grades. They're the kids, our kids' grades, and so the more that we're bound up in it, it can create some kind of power struggle. I don't know if that addresses your question, Hadar, but resisting doing homework. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm curious what would happen if they just didn't do their homework. I mean, again, it's like this is their grade, and what happens when if they don't turn it in? And so, like, it's like the natural consequence not not turning it in. And again, I don't know how old your child is. The stakes get higher as they get older in school. If they're in elementary school, what is the fallout if they don't do it? If it's about the resistance, if it's about so that's one thing. If it's about like the resistance and I don't wanna, then they can experience that natural consequence. Now, if there's something going on in their world that they're really struggling with and they need a tutor, or they're whatever it is, like getting kind of curious about what the resistance is about. You know, are they, what's the resistance about? So that would be kind of where I would look is it possible for them to experience the natural consequence and what's going to happen at school? Okay, it's too easy for her. So, so that's kind of hard to be motivated if it feels like it's busy work. I can imagine that's kind of hard for her. So I wonder what would happen. What would be the natural consequence of her not, if she doesn't turn it in, so that it's not a power struggle with you and her, but I don't know what the conversation is with the teacher, but or if there's something that she can do that's more engaging or more challenging. So I think those would be a couple of my pieces of feedback, is either can she experience the natural consequence, especially if it's a kind of a low stakes situation, and kind of getting, seeing if there's a way you can kind of problem solve with the teacher and advocate, or have her advocate for herself, would be another approach. All right. What else? Any other questions? I'll probably take like one or two more before we wrap up. If there are any other questions about things, any other challenging behaviors you've seen come up, I'd love to answer. I can stick around for a little bit longer. And I just want to say thanks so much to ParentGood for hosting this forum. I hope that you each have taken something from this. Sibling rivalry. That's a good one. Yes. So sibling rivalry. Whew, that's a big one. And that is one that it can be such a stressor for parents. Such a stressor. Absolutely. So there's a lot of different components with sibling rivalry. I would definitely point to that the step 2 of how can we as parents be calm when we are engaged in, I don't know if it's like fighting that's going on with your kids, or if it's kind of this like ultra competitiveness going on. But I mentioned earlier about making things fun, avoiding anything that involves competition between siblings, or comparison between siblings, or this is this child and this is that child. That's kind of is breeding ground for that rivalry to happen, that competition to happen of this is the whatever the labels. So avoiding that stuff is kind of going to be helpful to not have the foundation of that sibling rivalry. But fights come up. They're learning how to live together. They're learning how to negotiate and communicate and all that kind of stuff. So again, I would go with this list that I suggested. Definitely focusing on step number 2 of like, okay, before I even get into this, I know I need to take a deep breath. I need to get calm, because sometimes we get in there and we make it worse. So, and then they're reacting to us. So that would be my first step. And then the second one would be on step 5, which is around what kind of skills can you teach? There might be some skills that you can offer, not necessarily in the heat of the moment, but those kind of, how do you communicate? How do you ask for what you need? How do you take turns? And oftentimes those are better conversations to have not in the heat of the moment. In the heat of the moment, we got to stay calm and kind of keep everybody safe. All right. One more. So I'm seeing, sibling rivalry. That's a tough one. It just is. It's so frustrating. And kids are just learning how to coexist with one another. And that's a big one of just like practicing those skills of sharing your feelings. That kind of relates to this other one that someone's asking about with anger. And I mean, if we can model how to handle, that's like, I'm not saying that that's going to do it all, but if we can model how to get calm and be present and communicate in a way that's not attacking and not threatening, that really goes a long way. And okay, this is kind of, you're demonstrating, it's like you're not just doing what I say, but you're saying doing what I do. You know, this is how we deal with stressful situations. I get calm, and then I advocate for what I need, or I ask for what I need using I statements. And in the heat of the moment, when kids are upset, they can't hear anything we're saying. So we just need to bring it down first. And we can do that for ourselves, and we model that. And sometimes that might say, I just need a minute. And modeling breathing, or modeling taking a sip of water, whatever it is, for us to get calm, and then we can engage with our kids. So that's what I would say about, so the other person that was asking about anger, navigating anger, is first we have to model it within ourselves. How do we access calm? And then finding ways that help our kids. I mean, it's a life skill. We see how hard it is for us when we're upset to not yell, or, I mean, it happens to us as adults, and we are, our brains are fully formed. For our kids, their brains aren't fully formed. They have these emotions they haven't experienced before. And so if we know how hard it is, helping them find the ways that help them get calm. And again, modeling it, practicing, trying things that work. Not everybody works well with deep breaths. They need to go outside and move their bodies. So finding those tools that help them. Well, we're out of time, and I'm really glad that you all jumped on, and I hope I answered your questions. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on the ParentGood app, among, like I said, other amazing family supporting professionals. And I hope to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining. And you can find me in the inbox, or schedule a session with me. Have a great afternoon. Have a great morning, wherever you are on the planet. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much.